Welcome back to the podcast, you beautiful souls. I have a beautiful soul joining me today. I have Beck Antonucci. Hopefully, I crushed that last name. Emotional well-being coach. Now, she's got a lot of depth to her, this woman, and I'm looking forward to leaning into it. We're going in topics from sexual healing, body image stories, breaking free from trauma, inner child work, nervous system regulation, body image healing. There is so much stuff that Beck goes into. I look forward to leaning into it. She's also the podcast host of Raw, Real, and Vulnerable, and the founder of the online group program True Transformation, which I'd love to hear about as well. Beck, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time, your presence, and obviously your value that we're about to get into now. I like to always kick up from the top with my guests, and I'd love to know your story, I guess, what's led you to doing what it is that you do right now. I'm sure there's some ups and downs within the story. So love to know your story of who Beck is.
Yeah, I'd love to share. I'll do the elevator pitch of it rather than when you have a guest and 9 hours later they're still going. But
I've had a couple of those.
The journey really for me started in high school. I went to a prestigious girls' school in Perth, Western Australia, and I was bullied horrifically by what felt like essentially the entire school. My best friend turned against me, and it felt like she turned the whole year group against me. And that led me to the point of attempted suicide. And I didn't realize that then became the thing that I spent my young 20s and my teenage years and my 20s running from. All the things that they used to scream at me, I really believed them to be true. And I tried my hardest to not become that. As I left school, I was obviously a young woman searching for safety, not actually understanding that was what I was doing. And I was led to believe that women were dangerous. Obviously, going to an all-girls school, not integrated with men, I then went and got a boyfriend. Like, one man might be the place where I find myself really safe. And I was in a beautiful relationship. And after 2.5 years, that man assaulted me with a closed fist, punched me in the head, knocked me unconscious. So now I'm 19 years old, and these two big T traumas have occurred where I've been horrifically bullied to the point of attempting to take my own life, and then assaulted really terribly by the one man that I really love. And that left me at 19 feeling really, really unsafe in the world. And I decided in that moment, I want to appear really strong. I must be a really weak person for these people to treat me this way. So I wonder if I go to the gym and I have a strong body, will people think that I'm strong and not try to hurt me? Again, just a little girl looking for safety. And I found the gym, and my body radically transformed within a matter of months. You know, when you're 19 and you just eat a few bits of greens and all of a sudden you have abs.
Yeah.
And lots of people started being really nice to me. Men started to know my name. Women were kind to me. I was invited places. Facebook had just become new. I had lots of Facebook friends. Men were asking me on dates. People were saying really nice things to me. And I became addicted to the validation of people approving of me. And in that moment, I didn't realize that I was correlating my physical appearance with people being nice. And that started a 10+ year journey of disordered eating, because whilst people might think it's a vanity metric of Lewis telling Beck that she's beautiful, underneath that was every time I received a compliment from someone was like, "Hi, Beck. Oh my God, your body looks amazing, Beck." What I was hearing was, "I'm safe. They approve of me. They like me. I belong." And that was a journey that I really went on. And again, I want to make this the elevator pitch of it. This went for 10 years. But in the midst of that journey, the final straw that really was the catalyst for the life path that I've gone on now, I left a partner at age 25, and I slept with a friend who promised me that he was STI free, and he transmitted to me the herpes virus. And that was like the rug pulled from under my feet, and it felt like all of life was ripped from me, because the one thing that I had realized could create safety and belonging for me was my appearance. And the herpes virus, with the stigma that's attached to it, really felt like in that one moment, everything that I had worked for my entire life to gain approval and acceptance and ultimately safety in the face of the external world was now taken from me. That's really like my teenage to 25-year journey of how I got onto this path.
Wow, a lot of color in that story, and a lot of pain, but a lot of purpose out of that, I'm sure, as well. I'd like to go. Well, let's just start with what you're working on at the moment. What's modern day Beck working on right now?
Well, at the moment, I'm working on cultivating a life led and rooted in desire and pleasure. I'm working on really breaking free from how society has told us we're meant to be as women. I'm breaking free from all the protection strategies I've created my entire life. Even looking at my business, like I've built this incredible business. I'm like, do I really desire that? Or is that another protection strategy? Do I really want to live in Perth? I know I told you I just got on a plane. My partner / ex-partner was like, you're having a midlife crisis. And I feel like I'm really awakening to wanting to become so deeply connected to my own truth that I strip away all the layers of protection that I put on me to feel safe in the world and can really cultivate the kind of life that is really the life that I know that I've come here to live. That's essentially the path that I'm on right now.
And how does one do that? That's quite the awakening to your own truth, stripping away the parts of you that aren't you, or the protection layers you've built up. I really subscribe to that the way you articulated that. So what does that mean to someone, and like how can someone start to maybe do some of that work themselves?
So I was on a plane last year going from the Amalfi Coast to London, and my partner wasn't with me at the time, and I knew that we were just about to move in together. And as I'm on this plane ride, this voice like wakes me up, this truth of you're not meant to be in Perth. And for me, that was really hard to be with. I was like, no, this is my fears. This is my limiting beliefs. This is my fears around commitment. This is my inner child trauma. I was like, no, this is your truth, Rebecca. And it was so strong. And I knew that it was so scary to really honor that truth, because it meant that I would have to leave my partner. It would mean that our commitment to move in together would have to change. Like all my safety, everything that I knew in Perth to be familiar would be ripped from me. And there would be so much uncertainty on the path that I was about to walk if I did that. And because of the uncertainty, I chose not to honor the voice. And so I tried to push the voice away and live the life that I'd committed to, stay with my partner, stay in Perth, keep doing what I was doing with my business. And what it was bringing up within me was this deep sense of dissatisfaction. Like I knew that I was trying to resist a truth. The truth is trying to guide me on the path that I'm here to walk. And I'm saying no voice, but life says at 35, I should be with this partner. And my partner is a really good man. Like he's beautiful, he's integral, he's attractive, he's sensitive, he's kind, he's masculine, loving, successful, all the things. So I'm trying to say no, but society tells me at 35, I should have this man. And all my clients want a good man. I have a good man, and I'm about to say no to a good man. What for? For the unknown? Is there a man there? Is there a future there? Am I going to have a family? And so it's basically going up against all of society's conditioning around who we're meant to be as 35-year young women, and still giving truth to and a voice to empower to the truth that's speaking to me. And for me, it has been all about tuning into the sensations that are occurring in my body. Like every day when I was waking up in Perth, trying to deny the voice, I could hear feel this heaviness in my body, this boredom in my body, this stagnation. And then I went traveling for 7 weeks through America, through Australia. I supported my mentor, Preston Smiles, and his wife, Alexi Panos, with all of their work. And I felt so liberated, so free, so alive, so lit up from the inside. I could feel all of this sexual energy through my body when nothing around me was sexual or creating turn on, yet I felt so sexually alive. As soon as I landed back in Perth after that 7 weeks, it was like that sexual essence, that eroticism that I could feel like penetrating through me was ripped from me. And that was a moment where I knew the sensations in my body are speaking louder than the voices in my head, and I have to honor them.
How does one? I had a beautiful guest on a week or two ago on the podcast, and she was very spiritual, and she was very much like connecting to the divine source and to the greater divine, whatever you want to call it, God, if that's your belief. How does one listen and become more conscious to the voice? Because I believe that we're always on our path, and your intuition's always guided you along the path. But sometimes when I did my NLP a few years ago, and the guy that taught it to me is like, the universe will throw you pebbles. If you don't listen, you get a boulder. If you don't listen, you get a brick wall. And I find some people have to wait for the brick wall to actually fucking listen. So how does someone become more in tuned or intuitive, or just listen to that voice a bit more? Is it through meditation? Is it being more conscious? Is it what would you say?
I mean, mine personally is through evidence. I believe that the whole herpes journey was set up just like that, where God was telling me, learn to love yourself from within. And I had little like hits, taps, slaps, Mack truck. Herpes was the Mack truck. I mean, I came back from the Philippines with a horror overseas breast surgery. I believe that I manifested that because God was saying the external world and your physical appearance can't create the love and acceptance that you're craving. So the pain of herpes for me is like the evidence that not that I experienced pain around it now, but that 25-year young version of me did, is evidence that when I don't listen and I'm not willing to look at what I'm really avoiding, I am only going to further manifest pain on my path for both myself and others. It wasn't a beautiful experience for my ex-partner for 8 months to live with me when I'm going through all of this dissatisfaction and resisting a truth that lies within. So I think looking at our external world and seeing, am I really fulfilled, lit up, alive with what's going on here? And if the answer is no, then maybe sitting there and questioning yourself, well, is feeling lit up and alive by my life something that's important to me? What am I actually experiencing? Dissatisfaction, boredom, monotony, stagnation. I'm not turned on by my partner. Okay. Is that the kind of life that you say that you're here for? And if it is, keep doing what you're doing. But if not, then maybe just a journaling practice or a deep questioning. I had Alexi on my show recently, and I usually ask my clients, what are you avoiding? And she asked a similar question in a different way, which is, what is it that I'm pretending to not know? And so for me, it was like, I'm desiring aliveness and I'm looking at my life in Perth so bored. Boredom and aliveness don't go hand in hand. And so what is it that Beck was really not acknowledging? Well, maybe I have to leave my partner. Maybe I have to leave Perth. Maybe I have to sell all my possessions. Maybe I have no idea what the future holds for me. But maybe even just asking yourself that really sobering question can create a lot of clarity for you.
Very honest questions. I love those questions. Can you repeat the one from Alexi again?
What is it that I am pretending to not know?
That's powerful. That's very powerful, because it's the voice that's like, you know, it's there, but you're choosing not to listen to it. And I think maybe a question I'd like to know from you as well, for people that even admit it to themselves, but they're too scared or fearful, and we might even dive into leaving the comfort zone, because I know we mentioned that off camera. Like, how does someone who, okay, is this the person I want to be with? No. The voice is obvious. And it's when you listen to your heart, you get the answer straight away, right? But they're scared. They're fearful. Oh my God, what about this? I might be single forever. What if I fail? What about people's opinions? Blah, blah, blah. How does someone work past that?
I would ask you to question the fear. So if the question is this the person I want to be with? And the heart says no, but there's so much fear around leaving because we're attached for some reason. Get really clear. Like, don't lie to yourself. There's a reason that you're staying in an unfulfilling relationship. Lots of women at the moment are messaging me. I want to leave my life. I want to leave my partner, but I would rather be with this person that isn't fulfilling me than alone. Okay, great. At least you have truth there. Now, what is the fear about being alone? Or I've even heard it like, Jake is such a good person. Are there other good men like Jake? Am I literally like the fear? So let me get really clear about the fear. The fear is, well, if he wasn't a good man, I would leave, no questions asked. But knowing that he is good, is it a scarcity mindset that more good men don't exist? And if I knew that there was a million good men out there that would all choose me and love me fully, well, would I stay with him? Get really honest with what your questions are and what your fears are, so that you can go into the fear and actually really address that, because that's the mental prison that's keeping you stuck in a life that you no longer choose to be in consciously, but you're physically holding yourself there because you believe that this fear is going to perpetuate in your future reality. You're going to be the miserable cat lady with like 12 kittens, 5 sheep, no children, no loved ones.
You've got some absolute fire in you, Beck. I'd like to know, what are some of the powerful questions you've asked yourself, or someone's asked you, maybe a mentor or someone who's just really, it's been like a light switch, or it's moved the needle a fair bit for you?
Questions that they've asked.
Or you've asked yourself.
I had a coaching call with Preston last year, and we were talking about my constant dissatisfaction with partners for the level of intimacy that I experience, and always, no matter what it is, desiring deeper intimacy, more passion, more just more depth. That even the men are like, I want to give it to you, but I don't even know what this depth is.
Yeah.
And really recognizing this is my complaint frequently, no matter who the man is. So Preston reflected back to me. It's not a question, but he reflected back to me. And I didn't fully understand it at the time. And he said to me, it's not at all about the sex. And it was that I was using sex as a vehicle for the aliveness that I've been craving. And in my boredom in Perth, sex was one of the tools and resources that I could use to create that feeling momentarily. But that's what kept bringing me back to the sex must always be to the depth, the passion, the intimacy, the fire, because I'm not meeting that aliveness within myself. And at the time, I didn't fully understand. I'm like, no, it's the sex. But now, being 12 months into the journey that I'm on now, I can really see what I was using sex for, and that aliveness that I was deeply yearning for but denying.
That's fucking powerful, Breath. I haven't done his events, but I've seen his content everywhere. So really, really cool. How does the sexual energy, you mentioned it before, it was just pulsating through you, or those might not be the words you use, but I'd like to know, I guess, your views on sexual energy. I've heard from the sexual transmutation, from Think and Go Rich, to somatic healing, to what's it called? Sex magic, where it's like using that sexual energy for manifestation purposes. I'd like to know your beliefs on it. You seem like this is kind of your area. What's your beliefs on it, and maybe some tips and things that people can look into?
For me, it's just showing me when I'm in the right place and when I'm not. Like, I feel like we're all responsible for harnessing and containing our own sexual energy. But in terms of what I feel within me, when I was in New York City and then the Whit Sundays, I could just feel like this constant turn on. And knowing that everything around me was like plants and trees and buildings, and it was no person touching me in a certain way. It was no one engaging with me in a certain way. It was my receptivity to the life around me that was creating this aliveness and this turn on, and essentially this pleasure, which for me was creating so much creativity, so much inspiration. I just felt so centered and in my body. And then when I got to Perth, when it felt like it was ripped from me, I felt this like dullness, this boredom, and almost this like sadness that life isn't lighting me up. Life isn't turning me on. So I guess my beliefs about it are, we get to be so intentional about if that's what's important to you, about creating a life that does turn you on, that people other than your intimate partners, like your experience of life, is responsible for turning you on. But beyond, I know I've in the past thrown my pleasure into the role of the partner. Well, you have to turn me on. You have to please me. You are the person that brings me my pleasure. Versus now I've realized, especially through so much travel after the pandemic lifted, that I am fully responsible for my own turn on. Definitely. And the more that I can create that from within, the more that that's going to positively impact my business, my clients, the way that I receive life, and the way that I receive my intimate partner or partners.
How does someone turn their life on? How do they do that outside of the bedroom? Because this is, for some people, this is like fucking Chinese, what you're talking right now. So how does someone, like you're saying, you're just in nature and you're feeling that rush of sexual energy through you. How does someone, I like what you said, does your life turn you on? What a good question. And how does someone get their life to turn them on is the question I'd like to know.
That was a great question that you just asked. I literally just created a framework for my question for my clients, and it's all around desire. But often when we think desire, we just go straight into the sexual nature of it. Yeah. Whereas for me, I'm getting my clients to go through each domain of their life, from career, finances, food, exercise, and getting really, really clear on what their desires are, like lifestyle, living location, the appearance of their bedroom, the bed sheets, like what their desires are for every single piece, like puzzle piece of their life. And then getting clear on whether you're honoring those desires or not. Getting clear on why you're not honoring those desires. Like maybe your desire is that your car is clean and your car is a constant shit show. So I used to be that, those memes online where women's cars are like just full of stuff. Yeah. I'd be that person that's just like rushing everywhere. And my car is so nice on the outside, and just the internal of it would just be an absolute mess. So maybe my desire was someone to clean my car each week, like getting it professionally valeted. Yeah. And just really honing in on, even if you can't make all of it come to fruition right now, I bet there are some places where you really could.
Yeah.
And in those micro moments of you honoring your desire, I feel like that's how we start to create a life that begins to turn us on. Because we can't rely on constantly being like, oh, well, I'm not turned on, I'm going to go to New York for a week. Yeah. Okay, New York turned me on, now I'm back to real life, and now I'm bored again. Yeah. So how do you create, if maybe you're using an external resource like a holiday to turn you on, how can you feel that energy and realize that you can experience it from within? And now in the micro moments of life, how can you thread desire there so that your current life turns you on? That would be my suggestion.
Fucking banger answer. You mentioned something earlier, and you kind of just triggered it again in me. I love Wayne Dyer. If you've gone down his rabbit hole, his content's really, really phenomenal. And he talks a lot about attachment, the Taoism. I've got Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. It's top 5 books behind me right now. And he talks a lot about like your external world does not, it's a mirage. It's an ego. It doesn't actually fulfill you long term. It's kind of a flash in the pan type of thing. From your story, especially from the bullying thing, I've got an odd question I'll ask you soon, but from the stuff you experienced in school, from the sexual herpes experience, from the stuff being ripped away from you, it sounds like you've had quite the extreme or a couple of extreme experiences with experiencing detachment firsthand, but then that can sometimes cause someone to go to the extreme and really chase it and look for the validation, look for the external things to validate who they are. But I'd like to know, I guess, your journey to go kind of back to the opposite, where it's like nothing outside determines your worth and nothing actually nothing validates who you are but you. What's been your journey like that from someone who's been through quite some bigger experiences yourself?
Well, I would definitely say that I'm still working on that. I had this epiphany for my 35th birthday. It was maybe 2 weeks ago. And on my 35th birthday, I realized that kind of everything that a past version of me would have really wanted, whether it was the income that I am earning in my business, whether it's my free ability to travel and run my business from anywhere in the world, whether I have a small, empowered, but incredible female team who love, support me, and like adore my business as well. I have incredible mentors. Every mentor reached out privately, like people that past version of me would have like idolized or pedestal, sent me the most meaningful messages. Just everything around me was everything that a past version of me would be like, if I had that, then I will have arrived. I'm there. I've made it. And there was still this piece of like, oh, but do I really, like, am I allowing it to land? And do I feel this magnitude of love and deep acceptance for myself? And that still felt missing. And that to me was like, whoa, now I've got I could create more of it. My business can make more money. I can get more clients. I can have more of the nice things that I've got. But I can see, so it's such a beautiful experience to see that I could get more of it, but it won't create the feeling. So now, and sometimes even this came up with my podcast with Alexi, sometimes we have to get all of it to realize, I think, who was it that said it? Was it Jim Carrey? Like, I had to become rich and famous to realize that was not the thing.
I've heard him do a version of it.
I've totally butchered it, but you'll know what I'm talking about. And so for me now, it's about, maybe some of us have to go on that path where we get all the things that we think are going to bring us the feeling, only to come back to everything around us can be beautiful, but the feeling that we're yearning for, the only person who can create that is us doing the work on ourselves, within ourselves, for ourselves. Creating this beautiful life is nice, and it lacks substance without it really truly coming from within.
Beautiful answer. I want to go into the work. I have a small question for you as you were talking. You went to a same-sex school. Do you see more pros or cons to that?
Oh my God. I mean, I guess based on like my big capital T trauma, I would never do it to my children.
Yeah.
I think when you integrate into real life, men and women are meant to be in communion together.
Yeah.
I think it can create sex-crazed little girls that idolize, and we already idolize men based on the Disney princesses. We already think Prince Charming is coming to rescue us. So we're already trying to undo so much conditioning that has been put into us from little girls. And now you're removing removing young adolescent boys from us. And now we're running up to, I remember being in the school oval, and it was called Trinity, which was a boys' school.
Yeah.
As their bus goes past, we're like sprinting past and like holding on to the fence, watching them like, whoa, it's boys.
Oh my God.
I don't think it's natural nor normal.
Okay. My partner went to one, and we've had some conversations around similar stuff. She actually had a very, very similar answer to what you said. I'd like to go into the work. I'll read this line out. I'd like to just continue and elaborate on it. Beck supports women to learn and accept, honor, and own their vulnerabilities. What does that look like?
So I really believe that there is something that exists within all of us that we believe makes us a lesser human in society's eyes. For some of my clients, it's a herpes virus, but for other people, they have something where they resonate to the emotional experience of the herpes virus, the stigma, the shame that I speak about, the pain, how it leaves them feeling unlovable, unworthy, not good enough to be accepted in the eyes of society. But I believe that we all carry that. And there can be a real rejection of it. Like I'm not going to create space for this vulnerability. I'm going to push it away, especially I work with mostly women. What can I be? What more can I add to me to make me good enough? So if maybe I'm pretty enough, my body's skinny enough, my boobs are big enough, then Lewis might accept me. And then if maybe in a few months' time I tell you the truth about my vulnerability, I would have added enough value to me based on what society deems valuable that you'll accept me.
Yeah.
And so the work that I'm really doing, and that's what that's the journey most of my clients have gone on. Someone asked me the other day, what kind of women do you work with? They're aesthetically just beautiful and highly intelligent, go-getters, achieving incredible things. And there's this piece of them that they just feel is ruining who they are as a human. And so it's about creating space for that, internal acceptance of it, tenderness for it, rather than trying to push it and pretend it's not there and constantly trying to add to our value. And then being able to cultivate the internal courage to start to communicate that with others so that we can actually be in true vulnerable relationship with other humans, whether it's our friends, family members, or intimate partner.
Wow. How does someone start to do that? What can someone listening to this? Obviously, they're going to reach out to you, they can connect with you. But if they're unable to, they just want to start getting the ball rolling. What can they do today to start to improve in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that question that you and I said at the beginning, like asking, what am I avoiding? Yeah. Or Alexi's version of it, what am I pretending to not know? And it could be like, I've worked my entire life to try and make sure that I'm physically attractive so a man will choose me. I have tried to make myself so successful so that I seem valuable to another person. And my truth is that I don't. And the reasons are this. And then it's like, okay, well, where can I go to really work on that? I really believe that anything that you're navigating, there is not one person in the world that hasn't broken through it. So if it's like the herpes piece, you've got me as like your beacon of light. If it's nothing and meaningless to me, but it was once my deepest, most rooted pain, then you can see that breakthrough is possible. If it's disordered eating, that was even harder for me than the herpes journey. It was longer. It was so deeply entrenched. My eating behaviors probably started from age 11. And I conquered them truly probably age 31 to really be able to break away from them. It's a 20-year journey. But if someone can break free from bulimia and anorexia, then you can too. So just really to begin with, getting clear on those questions, getting really honest with yourself, and maybe just looking, because we're searching for evidence. Yeah. I'm not okay. I have herpes. I'm not okay. I'm the only one. Men won't accept me. Oh no, but Beck's beautiful. People still find Beck sexy. Beck's sex life isn't ruined. Evidence. Okay. It's possible for me. And then you can look to find the tools to support you in moving through that pain. See what that person did. Explore what they explored.
Beautiful. If you're okay sharing with this, I'm naive in this whole area of the herpes sort of scene of it. Can you, I guess, run through what your experience was like from how did it impact your life? Like I wrote down the word stigma before you said it. I hear the word and I just have negative stigma towards it. I don't even know why. I couldn't tell you what it is, how it affects you, what does life look like afterwards? I've got no fucking clue. I'm quite naive with this. What is, like, if you could run through someone who's, I guess, experienced it and given your ways of working through it, does it hold your life back at all? How do you adjust to it? If you're okay going into that.
Yeah, I love that question. And this is what I say to my clients as well. When the day that you walk into the doctor, none of us have ever wanted to be sexual health experts. You've never wanted to be educated in herpes. I never wanted to be educated in herpes. So for a lot of us, sexual health is a hands-on learned experience. We weren't taught about it in school. We weren't educated about it well in school. And all we've heard up until now is bad jokes in movies, bad jokes in TV shows, horrible things. Yeah. So that's where I really believe the stigma has come from, where we lack education. I think there's a bad joke in The Hangover that basically everyone's saying. So then we walk into the doctor's office, we're told this diagnosis, and all of a sudden, bang, I'm unlovable, unworthy, my sex life is ruined. What does this mean for me? There's no education. Yeah. So of course we all feel that way. I was told that it's incurable. I was given a fact sheet, told that it's incurable. And at the time I was going through an outbreak. Your first outbreak is typically your worst. Yeah. And it was like painfully horrific. Yeah. Now, I didn't know what that meant for me. I just thought that might be, I hope I can say this word on your show, my pussy for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I was literally, again, at 25, considering suicide, because if that was what it was going to be like for me, I was done. Yeah. And then the outbreak didn't come back. Yeah. And that's the thing, we're not educated. It's a very easily manageable virus. I think in the past, I'm 35 now, in 10 years, I've maybe had 4 outbreaks.
Mm.
And literally, except for the first one, if I didn't know it was herpes, I wouldn't know it was herpes.
Mm.
It's an asymptomatic virus for about 70% of the population, which means they're carrying it but can't transmit it.
Yeah.
It's triggered by stress. So the way I'm a very pro-natural health person, I love drinking really good quality water, doing the ice baths, doing all the exercise. I don't love Western medicine unless like I need it.
Yeah.
So I manage everything naturally.
Beautiful.
So for me, it's like managing your stress, managing your emotional stress,
Yeah.
your thoughts about it, your limiting beliefs about it, managing your environmental stress, where you live, what you're surrounded by, managing your physical stress. So what you eat, what you drink, what you consume, how you move your body. And through that is such a easily, for the most part, there's about 15% of the population who, if it hits them, it will hit them really hard. But for the rest of us, it's a very easy virus to manage naturally.
Does it affect anything when it comes to relating future with other partners? Do you have to disclose it to them? Does it, do you have to wear protection when you are in the bedroom now?
So I think that's a very individual conversation. Like my ex-partner and I, we were very honest about it. I don't love medicine.
Yeah.
I don't love condoms. He was very accepting. We didn't use it from the get-go.
Yeah.
And so it's really dependent on who you're with. If someone had a lot of fear around transmitting or being on the receiving end of the herpes virus, I mean, for me, that would be a deal breaker and I just wouldn't be with them.
Yeah.
But maybe then you would use condoms. Maybe then you would use antivirals because that's suppressive therapy, which makes the transmission rate like less than 1% or something.
Yeah.
But it's really going to be so dependent. I have clients, like one of my girlfriends, her husband has it. They've been together 20 years. She's never received it from him.
Yeah.
But you can, there's always going to be a chance, no matter what therapy you use, no matter condoms, all the things. If you're intimate with someone or you're choosing to be intimate with someone with herpes, you have to accept that there is a chance that you could be on the receiving end of the virus. And if you're not accepting of that, then my invitation for you is to just be so honest and not be intimate with that person.
What's your message, I guess, to the world of, I guess, sexual, stigma, awareness? What's your kind of message around this topic?
Yeah, my message is that all of society could really benefit from being more open, more vulnerable, more transparent, both sides, the people with herpes, the people without. Yeah. That there's so much fear like this. I actually just wrote a post like half an hour ago before my last client. So many people have messaged me the past week. I have a boyfriend who is 6 months in. I haven't told him. I'm so scared that he's going to leave me. I've got this young guy that I just met in the boxing gym the other day that's like, Beck, I'm in love with this girl. As soon as I got to Australia, the first girl I slept with gave me herpes, and now I'm sleeping with girls when I'm drunk because it's the only time I'm free. Now I feel awful that I'm sleeping with them. I have a man that's messaging me telling me that his girlfriend doesn't know. Like, we're just, people with herpes are sleeping with people without telling them, and we're not talking about it. Yeah. And there's so much stigma and not enough openness around the conversation that people are avoiding it. If people weren't scared of the conversation, it could be had. And it needs to happen on both parts. It can't just be like the people with herpes, because the people with herpes are like, someone didn't tell me, therefore I don't need to tell. It needs to be all of the society saying, like, we all love to have sex, but no one wants to be open to the sexual health conversation. Yeah. Let's just actually start to remove the stigma and talk about the big white elephant in the room.
This is a gift of mine, but it's caused me pain before. I got diagnosed with Asperger's, autism, ADHD, the whole lot. And I don't really understand humor very well. Like, if you took me to a comedy show, I probably wouldn't laugh too much. Like, I'm kind of like, why is he doing what? You know, when people that take the piss out of themselves, I'm like, and it makes me a good coach. Like, where's the truth in that joke? So yeah, I struggle to get humor sometimes. So why is there stigma around it? It's what you just told me. Sounds like, so what? Like, it doesn't sound like, it's like, it's not like fucking your life. It's not like, you might not even have you have it. There's 1% chance. Like, why is there even stigma around it? Is it through the movies?
I mean, there's 2 parts to what you just said. Number one, you're in the work. So this is an assumption. It's not always right to assume, but I assume that you come with a beautiful level of emotional intelligence. You already have a relationship with vulnerability. You've had your own diagnosis around something where maybe you went on your acceptance journey around what that meant for you and what that meant for your partners. So there might be a high level of appreciation when someone shares something vulnerable with you. There might be less judgment when someone shares something vulnerable with you. You work with clients, you hear vulnerable things all the time. So it's kind of like, oh, herpes, like, this person just told me this awful thing 2 days ago. I didn't have judgment around that. We're just we've been in so many rooms with so many humans sharing so much that there's a lack of judgment. It's just like, that's just a human experience.
Yeah.
And let me hold you and respect you in that. And then I feel when we're coming from a deep sense of lack of worthiness as a collective, as in a society, like me sharing with you previously, 35, all the things, still like desiring deeper love for myself, that when there's such a lack of worth, imagine if I received something that was to remove even more worth from me. Do I actually have the internal world that could hold the stigma, that could hold someone projecting shame at me, that could hold someone projecting judgment at me? A lot of my clients have a big fear of rejection, a big fear of judgment, a big fear of being seen as for who they are. So add something else on top of that to make the journey even harder. That could be a part of the fear as well.
I'm just sitting with that a little bit. Really cool. Mate, I don't even, you've kind of blown my head a little bit today. This has been really good. Let's go into your true transformation. We'll finish up. We'll go podcast. So tell us about the podcast. What's the podcast about? What's your kind of message and vision for that? And then I'd love to hear about your online group program, The True Transformation.
Raw, Real, and Vulnerable is my gift to myself and the world. I love her so much. I think we're maybe 9 episodes away from our first year. I'm just like, no, that Spotify is going to sign me. I'm waiting for the day that the email lands in my inbox. But we have all the conversations. We speak about everything that is really unspoken about in society, so that women feel, and men, but it's a predominantly female-based audience, that women feel really safe to be themselves. And my deepest desire is to plant seeds in women's minds to see themselves through a different lens than the lens that society gave us, the lens of perfect Barbie dolls, the lens of the Disney princesses. And I'm desiring that women start to learn to love themselves and appreciate themselves more, create space for their tenderness and their vulnerabilities. And a lot of my women are really desiring to call in partnership. And a personal mission of mine as well is to teach women how to be powerful in the face of partnership, so that we can truly receive. Like, it's like me saying 35, have all the things, but am I receiving it? It's no point working for all of this stuff and then not being able to enjoy everything that's around us. So women creating so much worthiness within themselves through the conversations that I'm having, and deep acceptance through the truthfulness of the conversations that we're having, so that we can just see ourselves and others more.
How does someone, just on that, how does someone receive? How does someone receive more?
Yeah, I had a beautiful client just before you. Like I said, my clients, it's not about aesthetics, but my clients are typically like, fuck, you're a gorgeous looking woman. Yeah. And she projects, deflects anything kind that's said to her, any compliment, anyone offering to do anything nice for her. She just can't allow it in. It feels too unsafe. And so to begin with, for that person that doesn't want to be told nice things, that doesn't want compliments, that has this kind of like hyper independent, I can do it all myself, maybe the receiving, just being like, okay, I'm going to receive and it's going to feel good, it just doesn't. So maybe even having a conversation with someone like, hey, Lewis, I'm finding it really hard to receive. Like, when you compliment me, I feel this like tension in my body and I don't believe it. Or when you compliment me, it brings up my childhood. And when my parents were kind to me, it was because they wanted me to do something back. And so it's bringing up, like, if you're nice to me, I have this fear that you're going to want something in return. And so just having really honest conversations when someone is trying to pour into you in whatever way, why speaking into the resistance, so that resistance can kind of soften. Can't just be like, okay, I'm just going to receive all of Lewis and Lewis's love and Lewis's gifts and Lewis's time and attention right now. But if there is resistance to it, I could speak into that and have a conversation with you around it, and it might soften it a little bit. And that could be my very first start.
Beautiful. So maybe some underlying trauma that's just something, you're just touching a nerve and they're like just deflecting it because there's something they had a toxic partner that said really nice things to them, but then they abused them, and that's to kind of bring that shit up. That type of stuff's coming in there. Yeah.
And there's a lot for women, for a lot of the women that I work with, receiving for them comes with this big caveat that if you are going to give to me, there's some, you're not just giving to me, you're not just telling me that I'm shining or glowing or whatever you said at the very beginning. You're saying that because you want something from me. And it's almost like this like hyper defensive, like must protect myself at all times. So we're blocking. If you are kind to me, I'm going to push back and I'm going to be like, no, because as long as I'm looking after me, I make my own money, give myself my own compliments, all the things, you can't hurt me, you can't try and take from me. So it's actually, for me, the woman that doesn't allow herself to receive is guarded and just trying to protect herself and doesn't feel safe.
I had something circled, and we'll finish on this one. You mentioned unsafe, and you said you'd get strong, so you went and like got fit, physically strong to protect yourself. How does a woman, or even men as well, but how does the feminine balance learning how to and when to let go and receive and be vulnerable, but also balance that with when it's time to be strong? Because I find generally speaking, I'm in the business entrepreneurial world, is I do see some really strong fucking fire women who are killing it. And I don't know some of them personally, but I always question, like, is this really authentic, or is this out of something? Is this compensating for something else? And it's hard for me obviously it's hard to know without obviously knowing someone and knowing the behind the scenes. So I'd like to know from someone like yourself, you seem like someone who's kicking ass in business, making good money, changing lives, and you've been on a huge healing journey. What's your thoughts on that? How does a woman or a feminine balance the feeling safeness, leaning into their vulnerability, but then also being able to be strong when they need to?
Well, I mean, vulnerability is strength, number one.
Thank you. Great answer.
That's a big part of it. And number two, I think, you know how I told you that I've been questioning my business?
Yep.
And then also that question around desire. I've been looking at my business and asking, because I can be that like strong woman that like, I don't need anyone, and I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use my business and my success and my money as a safety mechanism. Yeah. That's not that. And so really looking at, number one, we're responsible for creating our own internal safety.
Yeah.
So in all those places that we don't feel safe, how can I start to do that nervous system work so that I create my own safety for myself, my little girl, or past versions of me who have been hurt and harmed, so I know that I've got my own back? How can I cultivate enough courage and safety to be able to use my voice in the most challenging of times? And then looking at the things around me, especially for that go-getter woman, am I using my business as hyper independence? And if I came from desire, what would I truly want? Because the woman yearns, the woman desires. And so that's been like my constant question, like, where did this like striving, I'm going to hit the top of the mountain in my business come from? And is that just another protection strategy? And if I was to lean into full desire for my business, how then would I show up? And that's what I've been sitting with.
It's something I've been sitting with on that is Wayne Dyer again, actually. It's the detachment. It's like, where's the line between being detached and not wanting anything, but also doing things that you're inspired to do? Like, am I achieving this out of ego to make up for some shit that I'm compensating for? Or am I just inspired to do that? And where's the balance in between? It's like knowing your vision, your purpose, your values, know exactly what you want, but be detached from having it, but then still having the discipline to go get it. And it's like kind of sitting with that. That's something I'm kind of playing with at the moment. But
and Wayne Dyer, I used to binge him just like hard. And he even said something along the lines of like, it's when you're no longer attached to it that all of that comes. Anyway.
It comes. He uses it's in the book behind me. It's like, you've got a bowl of water and it's like, put your hands on the water and try grab it as hard as you can. Squeeze harder. What's happening to it? It's avoiding you. And that's the more you're chasing and trying to achieve, the more you chase, the less you attract. So it's when you stop actually squeezing and actually let it flow to you, be like water. So anyways, that was this has been a beautiful conversation. This is really cool. You've got a lot of gift, a lot of energy in you, and you're helping a lot of women already and a lot of people, full stop. If someone wants to connect with you, actually one more question before I ask that. What's something that you're working on vulnerably wise that the world doesn't get to see?
My deep love and acceptance of self.
And how's that going?
I think like I said to you before, it's at 35 looking around and just being like, everything that I wanted my last birthday is here. Everything. And I was just like, it's so beautiful. All the meaningful words, finances, support, company, just everything. And so for me, it's just that final piece of Rebecca gets to really, I think from the bullying story, I really reclaimed like the breaking free from judgment, breaking free from rejection, being strong. No one can, that unfuckwithable energy. I've got it, that warrior energy, she's there. But there's still like this really tender part of my bullied teenager that's like, I don't know if I fully believe all these people. I'm not really going to allow their love in. Like she's so protective in case they hurt her. So that's the work that I'm up to.
Very inspiring stuff. Thank you, Beck. If someone wants to connect with you, your services, just say you're fucking amazing. Where would they find you?
Instagram, come over to Beck Antonucci. I manage it all myself. So I'm there. I'll reply. It won't be my team. And if you're feeling the call, you're welcome in my world.
Amazing. Thank you, Beck. I appreciate your time. And guys, for everyone that's listened, made it to the end, share this with a friend, subscribe, go check out Beck's content. Thank you again, Beck.
Oh, you're so good. Thank you so much, Lewis.